So let's set up Airtable so that we can use Airtable and make.com to look for draft posts and publish draft posts on a weekly basis. So we will look for the oldest draft post in Airtable, and we will go to Webflow and publish that Webflow post so that it goes out once a week. We'll schedule the automation to look for that draft post on a weekly basis. So let's set that up. Let's give Airtable something to sort with. We could sort with this data point here that we already pulled in from Webflow, created on, but we only have the created on date timestamp for the draft posts that we pulled in from Webflow initially. So let's just give Airtable something else to work with. We add a column onto the end, and let's say this is Airtable created date. Let's use the formula field again so we can have Airtable drop in a dynamic piece of data. So the date the record was created will be pulled into this field. So if I search for date, we've got different options there. Let's go for create the time. Let's have that. And then we have to close the brackets, create field, and let's see if that's happy. Okay, so we have a timestamp for each of those. So let's go to the Webflow draft view, and we'll sort that view by Airtable created date, latest to earliest. So we've sorted this field, and if we go into make.com, I have this automation set up. So let's have a look at this then. So first of all, we want to search for the record. So we have an Airtable search records module. Just to show you where to get that, we would add a module, search for Airtable, and it would be this one, search records. That's where we would pull that from. So I'll delete that one and work with the original one I have. We want to set the base. This is the content creation base. This is the Airtable base we've been working with. Content staging table. Sort. So we could have sorted that way, but we've handled it already in Airtable. So let's keep going there. We're going to look to the view Webflow draft view. So only looking for records which are in this draft view. I've updated the status of more of these records just so we can see what's going on here. So we're going to look for one of these records, and we've set the output field to be only one single data point that we're going to pull from that record. So what we will receive back from our search is the Airtable record ID that we're looking for, and also the item ID, which is the Webflow item ID, so that we can target that for publishing after the fact. We don't have a formula to filter the search. We're happy with how we've set that up in Airtable, and we only want one single record. We only want the latest record. Click OK. If we save that, and let's just run this module only and see what comes back. So we have, this is what we sent in, and this part here, we look at the output, we've received item ID ends in 178, the record ID ends in SJS, and we have the ID, which is actually the Airtable record ID as well. So we have a column where we're specifically stating the Airtable record ID. That's where this has been pulled from. And we're also grabbing the ID. That just comes back as a default result from the Airtable search records module. So let's go and have a look to see. We've got Airtable SJS and item ID 178. So Airtable SJS is the top of the pile here, which is this 3 pro sounding beginner. So let's sort this back to front, because these are actually the wrong way around. So earliest to latest. and we want to get the oldest one. So we're going to take the top of the pile. So let's go back and run that again. Okay, so now this time we have item ID is DFB and the Airtable record ID is 46B. So 46B in Airtable and DFB in Webflow. So 46B is this one. 7 great productivity apps for your new pad. That was just one of our example posts that came with our Webflow template. And then what did we say for Webflow? It was DFB. That's DFB. So that's great. That stacks up. And if we were to go into Webflow to have a look at that, we could go into the CMS blog posts and let's add a column. We'll pin a new column. Item ID. So we've just hit this pin over here and we can add on other columns or take away columns that are here, whatever we want to see. And so this one is going to be DFB. 7 great productivity apps. Okay, great. So that's good. And so let's just do this. If we set this one to draft. And let's go and follow that through so that we can go to the next 2 steps, and then we'll be able to test that to see if it's actually published. So I'll refresh this just now. Yeah, let's go on to the next step in make. So we have Webflow publish an item module. This is how we would get that. Right click in the canvas, click plus, Webflow publish an item. It's here. We can search for it as well. Publish an item, and then we can set it up. So this one that we've set up already is the correct authentication. We've got the site case study build for No Code Mavericks. Collection is blog posts. And we've taken the item ID from the first module. And so if we run this module, we're going to, well, let's run the whole thing. And if I run the whole thing, let's look at this last one. The last one, we just want to target the same record that we are pulling in the initial stage. So target that record to update it when we're done. And we're going to set it to be publishing stage, Webflow publish. So if we run this whole scenario, we're going to go to Airtable, and this record will go from publishing stage, Webflow draft. That'll be updated to Webflow published. And inside of Webflow, this blog post will also be published. So this is what it looks like just now. It's a draft. Let's go run this module. Run once. Seems happy. 46B is the record. You can see the output here. Published item IDs is DFB with no errors. That's good. And the last one, we've updated this Airtable record. So let's look at Airtable. This has gone to Webflow published now, which means that the record has moved into the published view as well, which is this one here. So that's appeared in our Webflow published view. And if we go to Webflow to confirm, we're going to refresh, go back into the CMS blog posts, and all of these are now published. So it's this one, DFB, and that's been published. So our scenario is working. We're looking for the oldest post in the Webflow draft view. We're going to publish that item, and we're going to update the record ID to move it into the correct view. And the way that this is also working is because when we publish the previous step, when we move from the send to Webflow stage, we're also grabbing the Webflow ID and storing that in Airtable. And that way we're able to target that specific post in Webflow after the fact. Okay, and let's schedule this scenario to run on a weekly basis so that we will go to Airtable, look for the oldest draft post in Airtable, publish it to Webflow, and then update that record ID in Airtable so that the record moves then into the Webflow published view. And to make it happen on a weekly basis, we can click on the scheduling settings, and we are going to say on days of the week, run on, for this particular example, we're going to run it every Saturday at 8 a.m. So every Saturday, 8 a.m., we're going to run this scenario so that a single post gets published to the Webflow site every single week on schedule. We click OK. It says your scenario is scheduled, but not active yet. Would you like to activate it now to run as planned? So I'll say not yet. We could just activate it. That would be fine. I'll say not yet, but ordinarily, this is where I would just go, toggle this on. And it's just saying, it's giving me an extra chance just to change the settings if I want to. I'll click OK, click Save. And just to be sure, I'll click this arrow, which brings us back to the summary page for this whole scenario. If I just refresh that, I just want to make sure that that's stuck. And I can see here that it says it's toggled on. So from this page, we could toggle it off and toggle on. And we're in good shape. I often refresh the page after I might make that change just to make sure that the change has stuck. And we're good to go. So on a weekly basis, that's going to post the latest or the oldest Webflow draft post into Webflow, and we're up and running. Let's move on.